Hello, I am Dr. Mohananda Kanjilal, Associate Professor of Economics. Today I would like to tell something about the recent price hike of petrol and diesel in our country. Now, we all know that India is a developing country or underdeveloped country. And just like any other underdeveloped countries of the world, India has many problems like unemployment, illiteracy, lack of investment, lower national income, per capita income, many other associated problems. And with that, India is facing a downward trend of growth, not only from 2019 but before that, that is after 2014, the growth rate of Indian economy is facing a downward trend. That is, the growth rate is falling. Now there are different reasons for that. I'm not going to that, but today I will focus mainly on the issue of the recent price hike of petroleum products or petrol and diesel. Now, what do we find that before going to that, I must say that with this price increase or price hike of petroleum products, this problem is actually related to many other problems, especially the problem of inflation. Because if the prices of petroleum products increase, then that is also reflected in the prices of all other commodities of the country that we use on daily basis. Okay, especially the price of diesel. If the price of diesel increases, that will be reflected in the prices of all the consumer products of our country. Now, before going to that, I will start discussing this topic with the thing that this prices of petrol and diesel, how it is determined in our country. Before 2010, the prices of petrol and diesel were controlled or regulated by the government. But since then, we find that gradually the prices of petrol and diesel were deregulated. That is, now the prices of petroleum products are directly related to the prices of these products in international market. Now, but this is not the total picture of the story. Why? Because with this prices or international price, government or state government and central government, both levels of government, they impose some taxes which actually determines the retail price of these products. Okay. Now in our country, the Brent crude price oil determines the local price, that is the domestic price of petroleum products in our country. Now what do we find? That in April 2020, that is last year, price of petroleum prices decreased to $9.12 per barrel according to this Brent crude price, okay, which was lowest since 1998. In that particular time period in India, it became $19.90 per barrel. That is, I'm talking about April 2020. Okay, this is also lowest since 2002. But average Indian price was at that time $42 per barrel. Okay. Now, during that particular period, what happened? Because of COVID pandemic, lockdown was announced, and therefore in international market also demand for these petroleum products decreased, and it decreased to such an extent that in the international market the prices also fell, remarkably decreased. Now, at that time also, in Indian market, the retail prices of petrol and diesel were not very low. Why this is so? Because central government imposed huge amount of taxes on these products, which led to a higher price of petrol and diesel even during the period of lockdown. Okay. Now I'm just giving an example, like in 1st April 2020, government tax on petrol, central government tax on petrol was 37 rupees roundabout, and tax on diesel was 28 rupees. Okay. And in 16th March 2021, tax on petrol increased to 53 rupees or 54 rupees roundabout, and price of diesel increased to 43. So you can understand to what extent the government imposing taxes on prices of petrol and diesel, on the crude price of petrol and diesel. Another thing I would like to tell you that from May 4th, 2021, prices of petrol and diesel increased 24 times. And we find that union excise duty collection from this petrol and diesel increased by 35% during the period 2021. Okay, and not only that, in 5 metropolitan cities, especially Kolkata, Delhi, Mumbai, Chennai, and Bangalore, the prices of petrol reached rupees 100. That I hope all of you know that. So this is the situation of prices of petrol and diesel in our country. Now we will take a look of the situation of crude oil price. If we consider this, what do we find? That in 2019, the crude oil price of Brent crude oil price, we can say, that was 56, okay, 56 USD per barrel. During that time in Delhi, the price of petrol was 72 rupees, 2019. In 2020, price increased to near about 80 rupees, and in 2021 it increased to 87. I'm talking about crude oil price. So you can understand that from the Brent crude price, the actual price or retail price of petrol is increasing in such an extent. Now I am talking about excise duty in India on petrol and diesel. Let's take a look. In 2014, the excise duty on petrol was rupees 9.48, and that of diesel was rupees 3.56. In 2020, excise duty on petrol was 32.90 rupees, 32.90 paise, whereas for diesel it was rupees 31. That is, if you compare the data of 2014 to 2020, what do we find? From rupees 9 it has increased to 32 for petrol, and for diesel it increased from rupees 3.56 to 31. So I hope you can understand the rate of increase. In 2021, the price of petrol, the excise duty on petrol increased from 32 to 53, and excise duty on diesel increased from 31 to 43. So we find that actually the increase in this particular time period, it has increased 400 times the prices of petrol and diesel. And because of this, government has been able to collect a huge amount or has increased its tax revenue from petroleum products to a very large extent. Like the collection of taxes of central government in 2014-15 was from petrol near about 30 crore, and from diesel it was 42,881 crore. The revenue collection from petrol and diesel in 2014-15. Now if you consider the data of 2020, okay, to April 2020 to January 2021, what do we find? That excise tax on petrol, the revenue collection from excise tax on petrol was 89,575 crore, whereas from diesel it was 2,04,906 crore from diesel. So central government has been able to collect a huge amount of revenue from this petrol and diesel products. Okay, so this is the scenario or a comparative study of petrol and diesel. Now we come to the point that during the period when in international market prices of petroleum products were abnormally low in 2020, at that time also the government did not reduce the tax, and therefore we didn't get the benefit of lower price of petrol and diesel even at that period. At that period, due to total lockdown, the demand for petrol and diesel were also very low. But we didn't get the benefit of lower price of petrol and diesel even at that time because of the high rate of taxes of central government. Not only central government, state government also imposes VAT, value added tax on petrol and diesel. So with the crude price of oil, which is determined by Brent crude oil price, government of both levels, central and state, they are adding the taxes, and we are facing the retail price of petrol and diesel, which is exorbitant. There is no doubt about it. Now we come to the point that during 2014, we find that base price of oil was 47 rupees. Okay. Now with that, the tax was rupees, central tax rupees 10, dealers commission 2, rupees 2, state tax 11, rupees 11. So the retail price became 71 in 2014. I'm talking about 2014. So in 2014, the base price of oil was 47, but the retail price of petrol was 71. Now come to May 2021. What is the base price of petrol? It is 34 rupees, 34.19. With that, center's tax is 32. Just now I said rupees 32 per liter, and then dealer's commission 3 rupees 77 paise. Then state tax or VAT 21 rupees. So adding these figures, what do we get? The total retail price of this price is becoming 92, which has now become more than 100. So this is the scenario that there is a big question that why we are facing such a high price of petrol and diesel. The answer is because of this excise tax of center and VAT of state. We consumers are suffering, in fact, with a very high prices of petroleum products. And the problem is that, the concerning fact is that petrol is, maybe we can accept the fact that petrol is used by the upper middle class and rich people. Why? Because they use the car. But diesel is related with public transport. So if the price of diesel goes up, then the general masses, the poor people, they suffer. Why? Because the owner of buses, they will not be able to provide enough buses on roads, because their cost of production, it has already increased to a very high rate. So people are not getting enough buses on roads. That is a problem. Not only that, the demand for increase in the fare, the bus fare is also there. So the bus owner association, they are demanding a price hike also, and it is becoming a burden for them also to run the buses, the public transport. Okay. Not only that, if the price of diesel increases, that is reflected in the prices of daily consumer goods, the vegetables, the food items, everything will go up. So therefore the problem lies there, and that is the basic problem we are facing. Now another thing I would like to tell you, that this increasing tax or the tax structure on petrol and diesel is highest in the world, in India. Not only that, if we compare with the prices of neighboring countries, we find that this kind of prices are higher than our neighboring countries also. For example, in Sri Lanka, in June 14 this year, the price of petrol 68 rupees, 68, diesel 41, in Bangladesh 77, diesel 57, in Afghanistan 46 petrol price and diesel price 48, whereas in India we are facing a price which is more than 100. So this is the comparison between our neighboring countries. We don't have to compare with the developed countries. Even in our neighboring countries, which are also developing countries, we are facing this kind of discrepancy that we can see. Now this is the basic problem, and this is the basic reason behind it. Now central government gives us a reason that we know that government also needs fund. Government is a huge sector. Government also needs fund for the welfare schemes. So therefore the logic of the government is that we cannot reduce the prices of we cannot reduce the excise duties on petroleum products, because government revenue is also necessary. We know that. But the government must also think about for those people, those who have lost jobs during this COVID period, especially in unorganized sector. We know that the unemployment problem has reached to such a point where in India 74 lakh people they have lost job in unorganized sector. Unemployment problem has become a very serious problem in our country, and 23 crores of people, they have gone below the poverty line during this period, during this 1 year period. Inflation has reached 6% level. Theoretically, in economic theory, we come to know that if the inflation reaches 6% level, that challenges growth of the economy, and that is happening in our country. Okay? And inequality, income inequality has increased to a very large extent. In our country, 77% of national wealth is owned by 1% of population of the country. So you can understand to what extent the income inequality has increased. So taking into account these points, governments should try to understand the economic condition of the poor and middle class. Okay? So the basic reason behind the exorbitant increase in prices of petroleum product is the taxes imposed by both central and state government. There is no doubt about it. Okay. Now next I would like to come to the prices of edible oil. Okay. So this is also a serious concern in our country. Now we find that prices of edible oil has also increased by 62% in this year. Now, edible oil, oils which are used in our country nowadays are of different types. In our country, with mustard oil, which was originally a cooking oil previously, nowadays with mustard oil, many other oils are used. White oils like vanaspati, soya oil, sunflower oil, groundnut oil. Especially in urban areas, these white oils are used, because nowadays we come to know that white oil is healthy and it is safer. So usually urban people, they use this white oils, and in rural area people still now use the mustard oil. Okay. So nowadays we find that this price of edible oils, prices of all edible oils, they have increased to a very large extent. Now what is the reason behind it? Now we find that 60% of domestic demand of edible oil is met by imports. That is, Indian government imports 60% of domestic oil. And what is the reason of this increase in price? That we will do. Now, what do we find? That demand for vegetable oils, that has increased from 23 million ton to 25 million tons from the period 2015-16 to 1920. And domestic supply during this period is 8.63 million tons. It has increased to only 10.65 million tons in 2019. So there is a gap. Okay. So there is excess demand in India. So therefore government will have to import this oil from outside. Now what do we find? That usually soybean oil is imported from Argentina and Brazil. Palm oil is imported from Indonesia and Malaysia. Sunflower oil is imported from Ukraine, Argentina. Now what do we find? That nowadays the first reason of this increase in price of edible oil is reduction in domestic production of these oils in our country. So domestic supply has decreased in our country. That is first reason. And there are some other reasons. What are that? What are these reasons? First of all, in international market, we find a trend, that is the edible oil. Edible oil has been shifted from food basket to fuel basket. That is, in some other countries, experiments are going on to use these oils for fuel purposes also, not only for food purpose. That is also one reason why the supply of these oils have decreased. Another thing is that, for example, soya oil is also experimentally used for other renewable fuel purposes. Renewable fuel. So therefore, the supply of soya oil for edible purpose is decreasing. That is one reason. Now another thing is that China has increased their demand of oil, edible oil, from US, Brazil. That is also creating a pressure on Indian economy. So China has entered into the oil market and is creating a pressure on demand. So that is also leading to lesser supply in Indian market. That is another reason. Another reason is Malaysia. From Malaysia we import palm oil. Over there, labor issues are creating problem. Because of labor issues, supply of this palm oil has decreased. Another problem is Argentina, Brazil over there, the geographical problem of La Nina. That is a geographical problem. That is hampering the production of soya oil in that particular region. That is a geographical region. Okay. And export duties on crude palm oil in Indonesia and Malaysia also increased. And apart from these international reasons, in domestic market in India, the vital reason is again the tax or the import duty on edible oil. We find that the government collects import duty on edible oil by 59 rupees, 59.40 rupees from palm oil, 38.50% that is from soya oil, and 49.50 from sunflower oil. So the huge import duty again is creating a huge price in domestic market of these oils. So edible oil, the prices of edible oils are increasing. Again, we are coming to the same answer, that is because of government taxes. In the case of petrol and diesel, the excise duty is creating a pressure, and for edible oil also, the huge import duty is creating a problem. And therefore, the Indian masses, the general masses, the middle class population, the poor people, the lower middle class, they are facing a huge problem, because each and every person cannot survive without these oil and petroleum products. Okay, so these are the basic reasons, and of course government will have to think about the measure. Ordinary people cannot do anything. So because demand is there, supply is less, and in that situation domestic price is very high, which is creating overall burden on Indian masses. Thank you.